Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Notsam Wrestling, a conversation that I wanted to share with you guys. Brian Dipperstein, or Dip, as some of you may know him, is some big shot Hollywood agent manager type, but more importantly, he's one of us. He's a wrestling fan. Dip, of course, is part of the Cheap Heat podcast with Peter Rosenberg, but he's also part of every major wrestling weekend that I've ever been a part of. You can always see him somewhere in the crowd. And we've had many conversations about wrestling, but never on the record, and never purely about what made him a wrestling fan. What makes a hardcore fan? What makes someone one of us? Well, Dipperstein and I, Dip if you will, figure it out.
Oh, this is gonna go well.
This is gonna go great.
Oh,
Well,
I mean, you have me in a great mood. You have me in a great mood.
yeah, well, I want you in a great mood. This, ladies and gentlemen, I would say is a special presentation of Not Sam Wrestling. We have a figure that is known throughout the industry, whether it's behind closed doors or in front. Some may know him as an agent. Others may know him as one of the great podcasters, one of the co-hosts of the Cheap Heat podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Dip is here.
It's such an honor. I can't take my eyes off of what is going on around me right now. I think I'm seeing a big bully Busick next to me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is really a stunning Hasbro
Oh,
right there.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that yet.
Yeah, Big Bully Busick is, first of all, the fact that, like, by the way, this figure, oh, there he is. He's not even wearing his hat.
No.
And so the fact that you were able to call out that this was Big Bully Busick without even the hat on, I think that's like the first peek into the window of your level of fandom.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see, I didn't even need the cigar. I could have told you it was Big Bully Busick.
The stash did it, right?
Oh, it could have. It could be like a bad version of Dutch Mantel, also.
Yeah, with the short, it'd be a pretty hideous Dutch. But there's only, I guess, two guys that have had that significant of the handlebar.
Yeah,
that's Dutch and Big Bully Busick. So
yeah,
do you have memories of Big Bully Busick? Because even in circles of hardcore wrestling fans, I find that Big Bully Busick is one of those names that, you know, people go, huh? I mean, I guess.
Yeah. If you're on Big Bully Busick,
right,
you're not one of us.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I could picture it in my mind. There was a promo picture of Big Bully Busick. I remember my mother buying me the 1991. WWF used to do these like superstar, like the Superstar magazines.
You have no idea the language. This is my language.
Yeah.
Who else would remember the Superstars magazine? It was, of course, where you would go through and every page would be a profile of a different superstar.
Yes, and of course the 1991, like I was 4 years old. It was like the peak. I was 4 years old. I was obsessed. And Big Bully Busick is a 91 guy. That's a 91 situation. And I remember him with the hat and that and whatever. Like that was like I was obsessed with him, with that picture of him. I remember.
Did he have the red sweater on in it? Or was he barrel chested?
I think he was barrel chested.
Yes.
I'm trying to picture. I remember like how his head was cockeyed or something, whatever it was. But anyway, yes, Big Bully Busick, one of the great Joe Bears.
I think he is only
Joe Bear at Jace.
Joe Bear at Jace, because he did, I think, have one pay-per-view appearance. I feel like he wrestled at Survivor Series 91.
He did. He was part of a team on Survivor Series 91. Was it the Mercenaries? No, that was it was the one with Power and Glory, I believe.
That sounds right. Who was
I think it was. Okay. Please don't hold me to this.
Okay.
And I'm embarrassed. Frankly, I'm embarrassed that I can't
Well, I didn't know we were
remember.
going down this road either.
I think it was Big Bully Busick.
Yeah.
Rick Martel and Warlord. It was Warlord, Rick Martel, and Power and Glory, and then Big Bully Busick was on. I think in the first match or on the.
Is it possible that he was on Ric Flair's team? Because remember, that was the year that Ric Flair had a team of heels.
Yeah.
And Roddy Piper had a team of baby faces. For some reason,
it's possible.
Because the reason I know he was on that show is because I'm picturing the promo photo of him with three other superstars.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Rick in his pink robe and Big Bully Busick in his red sweater it's saying something to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So like these, it's so funny, these one-off guys who had these really short runs.
Yeah.
I always loved.
Yeah.
And was obsessed with. Like my if you can believe this, my favorite Barry Windham is the Widowmaker.
Dude, I thought you were going to say the Stalker because that would be
No.
the Widowmaker Barry Windham. This is 1990.
Yeah, it's 89 into 90,
Yes.
and then that was it.
Yes.
And then he goes back to Crockett.
Right.
Not Crockett.
But you love the Widowmaker Barry Windham.
I do love the Widowmaker Barry Windham.
Is it because of the names? Because that's literally like, no, I murder people.
I'll tell you why. Because this goes along with the Superstar magazine. When I was really little, like when I was 3, I was obsessed with the Wrestling Classic cards, with the not the WrestleMania cards, the ones before that. The ones that came in the blue foil with the gold writing.
I remember it well.
Okay, I know who I'm talking to here. So in order to get me to eat, because I wouldn't eat, I was a terrible eater. So in order to get me to eat,
by the way, we're speaking the same language.
Yeah. We'd have to. My mother would, or my father would have to play a game with me, and the game was they would read the stats on the back of those cards, and if I could guess the wrestler, I would have if I would guess the wrestler, I would take a bite.
And you're like 3-4 years old.
I'm 3, 3, 4. So I remember the Widowmaker card was always the most challenging because I couldn't remember his stats. And then when I did, it was like a thing, So I have very fond memories of the Widowmaker. And 89 is my favorite year. 89 and 90 are my favorite years.
You love 89 and 90.
Those are my 2 favorite years.
Why is that?
The colors, the whole aesthetic of the whole thing. I think Survivor Series 89 is one of the most beautiful events of all time. It took me. I used to when I had a little bit of money in my pocket, like when I was 10, whatever, I would go and like refresh eBay to try to find like an 89 Survivor Series, because in my taped collection of things that my father, like pay-per-views that my father taped for me, I never had Survivor Series 89, and I had never seen it except for one time.
Wow.
And I was traumatized because Big Boss Man had hit Dusty Rhodes with the nightstick and he was bleeding. And I was hysterical crying from that. And so I never watched it again until much later in life.
Wow. And then you realized how great it was.
So yeah, 89
it is interesting though that the colors is the first thing that you say, because I remember the first show that I ever went to was when I was 8. Yeah, 8 years old. SummerSlam 92, Wembley Stadium. And like, it's the first thing that you go in, and maybe that's part of growing up without HD television, without any of it, because you get there, and when you really see it, the shock of all like the bright red, white, and blue of the ropes, and the bright pink of Brett's outfit, and everything was so bright, that it hits you immediately.
Yeah, and 89, like for those of you that listen to my content, they know Powers of Pain is like my favorite tag team. So that they were only 89 by the time 90 came around. They were 88 into when they were with Baron, they were 88 into 90. Or they were 88 into 89, full through 89, and then a little bit at the end of 90, and then they broke up, and their contracts got sold to Slick and to Heenan, and
then for some reason those managers turned them into completely different.
Yeah, and then
entities.
it was over for me for them. I mean, like I'm only Powers of Pain, Barb, and Warlord guy. I'm not other but.
You don't like big, like furry. You don't even like Warlord with the half metal.
No,
wow.
I mean, I don't hate it. I just like that. To me, that was not my favorite Warlord. And then when you get into WrestleMania 6 with the Tito match with Barb, then you start to see him sort of transition from Powers of Pain. That's the transition moment from Powers of Pain Barb into
Barb.
Into Furry Barb.
Right. And you Furry Barb is just not your thing.
I'm not into Furry Barb.
Yeah.
I did love that clothesline off the top rope to end that Tito match at 6.
So good. Now, how did you feel, or were you the type that when the Barbarian returns as a head shrinker, are you going, don't insult my intelligence, we know this is the Barbarian, or were you lost enough in it that you go, okay, this is...
That was 94,
95.
So I was only 7. I was very young still, so there was still a little confusion as to if is that Barbarian or is that not Barbarian.
So what year were you born?
87.
So if you're born in 87, how can you're 2 years old? How can this be your favorite period?
Blockbuster.
You go and get all the tapes every weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean every week, man.
Yeah.
I mean, By the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I had seen every single Blockbuster tape. I had read every magazine. I had the old, what's it called? Somebody bought for me for, Hanukkah one year. What's the author that did the Amazing Picture books? The blah, blah, blah history of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It's worth looking. I mean, if you don't have those.
Of course, I remember. And those were like the history lessons too. I mean, and you do start back then. That's how you started. Like now you can look it up on YouTube. You can be an expert.
Oh, yeah.
In a week. But like back then it really was. I think my first live pay-per-view that I watched was maybe it was either WrestleMania 7 or Royal Rumble 91 before WrestleMania. But it was one of those things where you'd go like, oh, like I'm so keyed in now.
Yeah.
And then your friend has a tape of like SummerSlam 90 that you never saw.
That's right.
And you start going backwards and going like, oh my God, there's so much foundation here that I had no idea of.
The first introduction I ever had, there were the two first pay-per-views. I've said this, elsewhere, but it's been a while. The very, very first wrestling I ever saw was Wrestle War 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
NWA.
It was a tape that had a bunch of stuff on it. It had a bunch of Superstars episodes on it and a bunch of other stuff. And
terrible quality because it's like 8 hours of footage on a VHS
and
tape.
had been taped over 1,000 times. And I remember like the Muda Doug Gilbert match that at the beginning of the pay-per-view when you first my first introduction to wrestling was Muda. That's why I always loved face paint, and that's where it all stemmed from.
Wow.
And I was scared, and I used to run out of the room and cry because I was scared of the Muda entrance. And when Gary Hart rips the mask off and you see his face, I was terrified. So that was the first, and then I became obsessed with that pay-per-view, and I watched it over and over and over. Sheik and Sting and all these, but I was obsessed with Butch Reed.
You loved Butch Reed. Now, is this like Doom era Butch Reed
No.
or just the natural Butch Reed?
No, this is Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Yeah, this is not even the natural yet.
I love it.
And then the second event was 6. And then my neighbor came over and handed us a VHS of WrestleMania 6. And I had never seen for years, I thought that WrestleMania 6 started with Colossal Connection versus Demolition.
Because that's where the tape started.
Because that's where the tape started.
Oh, I love it.
So I never knew there was a Martel Coco match. And there was no internet.
Right.
And it was I never happened to have seen it in a magazine.
Right.
And it wasn't a dark match. It was on the pay-per-view.
But it just wasn't on your VHS tape.
That's right.
Right.
So not until years later, when the internet existed,
right,
did I ever know that there was a match before that match.
Wow, like you pick up a DVD when they start re-releasing DVDs and you're like, wait, what?
And I'm like, wait a minute.
I've never seen this.
Coco versus Martel. What a match.
And it was great. And it was your first time seeing it.
It was my first time seeing it.
On a pay-per-view that you loved.
No one had a crossbody like Rick Martel.
No, I mean, he was so underrated. But it's also very interesting to me that like you get exposed to NWA, which is a little bit of a more serious presentation at the time. A little bit of a more, we're passing this off as more realistic.
Yeah.
Whereas WWF at the time, and especially their WrestleMania 6, it's like, nope, this is a cartoon show. Like, this is so over the top. Yeah. This is so theatrical that you can move on. Like, you're in love with Wrestle War 89.
Yeah.
But then what happens? You see WrestleMania 6 and you go, oh my God, this is
even better.
You say this is even better.
Yeah, this is even better. This is even bigger.
Yeah.
I remember thinking the Sky Dome was just enormous.
There couldn't be a bigger building.
Yeah. I've never, it's now a different, it's not called the Sky Dome anymore. I've never been to what it is now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember thinking, it's so funny. I'd never been to Boardwalk Hall. I'd never been to where 4 and 5 were. And I've been to Atlantic City a million times. I'm from Philadelphia. We've vacationed in Ventnor and Margate and all the places and I had never been to that where 4 and 5 was, and I always wanted to go. So a few years ago, I was there. Really a few years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Mm-hmm. Last time I was in Atlantic City, I went in. I like the door was open. Yeah.
Did you walk down the stairs?
I didn't walk down the stairs, but I don't even think that existed. I can't even remember exactly what the room looked like, but I remember thinking this is like 1/8 the size of what it was presented on TV as.
Is it just like a hall?
It's a small. It's like not small. It's an arena,
Right.
but it's not what it looks like on TV. When I saw 4 and 5 for the first time, I'm like, this is the biggest room in the history of rooms. You know?
Yeah, larger than life.
Yeah, larger than life, and like that walk to the ring from that like heightened steps thing was so dramatic.
But then you start to appreciate it even more because you realize like how much effort was going into how you shoot these rooms.
Yes.
So that everything appears larger than life.
Yes. So anyway, man.
So what was the first live experience that you had when you went to a show?
The first live experience ever was when I was 3 years old. My father took me to SummerSlam 1990 at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Wow.
I was there, man. I was there for Warrior Rude. I was there for, I saw Tugboat. I saw Earthquake. I saw
Do you
Hogan.
have are you like Terrence Howard who has memories in the womb? Do you have
Yes.
visual memories of being 3 and seeing this?
I have it. I
Wow.
have it. I do. I have it. I have a little bit left of it. I have like a Rockers image in my mind.
Well, because and there is such a difference of when you're a kid, seeing it in person versus seeing it on TV. Those visuals are completely different, and it does stay with you.
Yes, it did. It did. It did stay with me. I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah, that's young.
So okay, so that means if you were 3 in 91,
That's 4 in 91.
4 in 91. So like you're 9, 10 years old when ECW starts popping up.
Yeah, I'm 9, 10 years old when ECW starts popping up, and it was just something that was on public access television. And
But you're still in Philly.
oh yeah, I'm still in Philly, and I went like ECW. I was like 9, 10. Yeah, I guess so. And it was just something that I watched if it was on. Like I didn't understand what was going on here.
Too young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I didn't realize that Paul Heyman was the Wrestle War 89 Paul
Paulie
Heyman.
Dangerously.
Paulie Dangerously. I didn't realize that because I was so young at the time. But it was something that I would put on and watch, and like it would, same thing with Global. Like I would watch Global in the same way that I would watch ECW if it was on in a weird hour. I would watch it. Like
I remember there was that era where Global would be on every afternoon on ESPN.
Yes,
Like
and
after school or whatever.
I would watch, and that's how I knew Lightning Kid.
Right. Right.
And then when he showed up in WWF, I was like, I have seen him before.
I've seen him, and that first, even when he wasn't, he still had the L. Kid tights.
Yes.
When he wrestled on Raw, and you're like, I know who this is.
I knew who it was.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was 93. So I was 6. I was a very sophisticated wrestling fan at a very young age.
Were you like that about a lot of things, or was it just like you just developed this wrestling obsession?
No, wrestling was my whole life.
Yeah.
When I was little, there
Same.
was no. I mean, I love baseball and stuff, but there was no greater joy than sitting down with my Hasbros and my LJNs and creating a Royal Rumble or a Survivor Series.
When you had your figures, right? And this is going deep, but we're going deep. This is what this is all about.
It clearly is where we're headed here.
And this is where I'm trying to explain to my son how you're supposed to play with your wrestling figures. He goes like, "Will you play with me?" I go,
That's not how it works. Yeah.
Same.
That's weird.
Right.
What
It's
are you
like,
doing in this house? You're not teaching your kids how to play with wrestlers?
I go like,
properly?
no, you have to put together the match. You have to book the territory. You have to like, whenever anybody would try to sit down with me and play wrestling figures with me, I go, are you a lunatic? Are you crazy? Like, I'm deciding what happens here.
I'm going to tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I had a cousin that I haven't seen him in 25 years probably, but I'm at my grandmother's house and I'm playing. This is really young. This is 4 or 5 years old. And I was obsessed with Demolition. Obsessed. Okay. Smash always went over. No matter what. When I was booking the territory, Smash went over.
Right.
Smash, I wouldn't say he won the Royal Rumble. He was always the Final Four.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
My cousin is there with me. We're playing outside by my grandmother's pool. And I literally have a visual of this at 4 or 5 years old. And he doesn't understand. He wants to play with me. And I said, all right, I'm rolling my eyes at 4. I'm saying that the people around me, you believe this guy wants to play with me? Doesn't he know you play by yourself?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I let him play because I'm a nice guy.
You are.
I'm a great guy.
You are.
And he takes another figure and he just destroys the Smash figure.
No.
And the arm just pops right off.
That's your champion.
It was as if a bomb exploded in this house. I was hysterical, inconsolable.
Yeah.
I couldn't even, that was it. I went to sleep.
Is it hard to talk about it now?
It was one of the most traumatic moments of my life.
I mean, because you can get a new Smash, but it's never the same.
It's never the same of having your first Smash.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
First Smash is always the best.
The first Smash is always the best. I to this day, have the broken Smash.
You do. You can't get rid of that.
I would never throw out my broken Smash.
That was your favorite figure.
That was my favorite figure.
Yeah.
My favorite figure, that and the Kamala LJN.
You love the Kamala LJN.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like you are young enough that you could have just started at Hasbro.
I was young enough.
Was your dad a fan?
No.
No.
No. My dad was not a fan. This was something that like my neighbors that were like a little bit older than me got me into.
I see.
And then my parents and my grandparents were just absolute, like they were like, oh wow, he has this obsession. We're gonna run at this, and we're gonna feed it, and they did, and I'm very grateful that they did.
Yeah.
Because now it's become such a huge part of my life.
Yeah, it remains.
It remains. Yeah. But I was just saying about the LJNs. Like there was a time when they were still in the stores. When I was, they were still
very young.
Yeah, 89 was the last year,
That's
and
right.
they were like 2 years later. They were still in the stores.
Yeah, people they would just hang around.
They would hang around, and then I other family friends and people that had them in their garages and basements gave them to my parents to give to me.
That's amazing. The whole town knew.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Brian. Oh, I have these old. We don't.
Yeah.
Blah 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 doesn't play with these anymore. Do you want them?
That's when you're just Brian.
I was Brian. Yeah,
you
Brian.
were Dip.
I was Dip. I became Dip. I became Dip in the mid-90s.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
It's Dip.
96.
96 was the year you became Dip.
That's right.
You left Brian behind.
Yeah.
And you're like, Dip is who I am now.
Yeah.
And was there a personality change that went along with that, or was it just...
I'm going to tell you what it was. Mm-hmm. It was my bunk in day camp, which was not only was that a bunk, it was the NCO, the new camp order.
I see.
That's right.
That's too sweet.
It was too sweet. We were too sweet all day long, and I became Dip in the new camp order.
Now, were you, by the time we get to 96, okay, this is important.
Yeah.
Were you, because people say, oh, you know what's wrong with wrestling right now is all this tribalism. Yeah. As if there wasn't just as much tribalism in 95, 96. It's just you didn't have Twitter. Like there was absolute tribalism amongst your friends, like you were this guy or that guy, whatever.
Yeah.
95, 96. Are you a WWE guy or a WCW guy?
Both.
Both. You were both.
Oh, yeah.
You just watch wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
You just love wrestling.
I love it. I think it's great.
Did you have a preference?
No.
You just watch. So, but if Raw and Nitro are both on,
I'm watching both.
Back and forth?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would also go, Nitro would replay. So I had friends, I mean, I didn't know how to, my parents would never let me stay up late. But like the kids who weren't exactly parented terrifically would watch Raw. And then after Raw went off, the Nitro replay was on. So they'd be up all night watching both.
I used to love the lucha stuff.
You loved the cruiserweights even as a kid.
I did.
Wow.
I did. I wasn't like obsessed, but like I appreciated what it was.
Yeah.
When the funny thing is, when the Attitude Era came around, I hated it. I hated the Attitude Era in the beginning.
Wow.
Like we used to joke about it, me and my friends, like this is not what we signed up for.
You wanted New Gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted before that. Like
Right.
I'm like, I wanted 89, 90, 91, 92,
Golden Era.
93. I'm a Golden Era guy. And then when New Gen started, like I loved Bret Hart and I loved Diesel and I loved Razor.
Me too.
It was all about Razor.
I was a Diesel guy. I'm going to be 100%.
You were more Diesel than Razor.
More Diesel than Diesel was for that year. He was my favorite wrestler. Diesel posters, Diesel gloves, Diesel t-shirts. I mean, I was obsessed with Diesel from probably, I thought he was cool from the beginning. When he turned on Shawn, well, when Shawn and him had their differences at Survivor Series 94. Yeah, Survivor Series 94.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I was like, yeah, he's my guy. 2 days later, he beats Bob Backlund in 8 seconds. I go, he's 100% my guy. And then I'm running on Diesel Power all the way through to Survivor Series 95 where I was so pissed that Bret Hart got him in that small package. I was furious.
Yeah.
Furious when Bret Hart beat Diesel.
It was a beautiful small package, though.
It was one of the best small packages I've ever put eyes on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like Diesel. I was a Diesel guy. I had a Diesel Pog mat
Sure.
that I still have.
Sure. The Diesel Power.
The Diesel Power
Yeah,
Pog
yeah,
mat. I still have the Diesel gloves that we got out of the catalog.
Sure.
I use one glove. I have it. I still have that. It was in my underwear drawer growing up. I remember.
That's great.
But now I have it still in my garage. That was like my Diesel stuff. Then my Razor stuff, I had there was a period of time when I was going to elementary school with a curl in front of my hair. There was, and then I had the I used to show off, to be funny as a kid. I would regurgitate the early promos. You want me to clear the table for you? How about I clear the table for you? You know,
You would do the vignettes.
I would do the vignettes. I would impersonate the vignettes.
Now let me ask you: had you ever seen the film Scarface?
No,
No clue.
I
Right?
had no clue.
Me neither.
Of course, I didn't know.
No, and I didn't even get the connection of like Razor and Razors on his tights. I literally, when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, he's got gold bricks on his tights because he likes gold so much." Didn't even get that they were Razors.
Of course not.
It was lost on me.
It was lost on me too. And by the way, even later in life, when I finally saw Scarface, I still didn't even make the connection. I'm like, this is one thing, and this is another thing.
Right,
you know.
right.
But I had the gold chain out of the catalog.
I had that
and-
with the Razor on it.
Yeah, I still have that. I can't find it though, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you can't find something, and you want to find something and that you know.
And you can picture where it is, and it's not there.
There's nothing worse than
Oh,
that.
it's the worst. It's
So,
the worst, especially when you've got all these items. But so okay, so you love, you were still in for that new gen, but then
DX came along. I was like, nah.
no, this isn't what I signed up for.
No, and then like when oddities and all that stuff came out, I was like, this is off. This is trash.
You hated it.
I hated it. And then now later in life, like I'm all good.
You appreciate it
I
now.
appreciate it now, but only much later in life. Like I came out like with the DX of it all. My bar mitzvah song that I came out to was the DX theme.
That's great.
So
That's great. Were you crotch chopping?
of course,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is America. Of course, I can do whatever I want.
But did that grow an affinity? Did you love the NWO
Obsessed.
because you're such a Razor or Diesel guy?
I had New Camp Order was the faction in camp.
Right.
New Bowling Order. We had my bowling league team was the NBO. And every single week on Fridays we would bowl. Me and my three closest friends at the time, who I'm still remain friends with, and we would all wear NWO shirts, black and white.
That's amazing.
And we were the NBO, and we were great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. I was such an NWO fan.
Yeah.
That and this goes back to stuff you're not realizing. Like you don't always realize the stuff that you're watching is universally panned. Like I didn't know until much later in life that everybody hates WrestleMania 9. Like I was sure.
Of course not. Of course, I loved it.
I loved it too.
Of course, obsessed.
I thought it was great.
I don't like any of the events people say are terrible. People say 11's terrible. I'm like, have you seen it recently? It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, 11's great. 9's great. Let me tell you something. They're all great.
They are all great, aren't they?
Yeah, wrestling's great.
And I also for the longest time I go, what was really cool when they did the NWO Wolfpack. I was like, that's the best. And like later in life, now everybody pretends they're like that was the jump the shark moment, and I go, no, the Wolfpack was the coolest thing. It was the prime.
I know.
NWO.
It's just so funny when you're that age. I was 10, 11, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
The NWO was, and at my next peak, I was obsessed with wrestling at that time, obsessed.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I can't, like, I wasn't around people that like judged it in the way that we do now, obviously.
Sure.
So to me, I'm like, they keep adding people. I'm like, keep it going.
Yeah.
Oh, you want Scott Norton in there? Okay, good. Oh,
You talking about Scott Flash Norton?
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Mr. Perfect is now in the NWO. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
They're adding Masakono and Muda.
Yeah.
Bring him in.
I love Muda.
Sounds good. I want to hang out with Muda.
Yeah.
So to me, like everyone's like,
Of course, Miss Elizabeth should be in the NWO.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So to me, like having the ring full of NWO people,
Which is great.
I always loved it. I was like, I paused it. I'm like, I know him. What's his name? Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
him. That's him. That's what I used to do.
And it really was like one of those things where at that time it was like, well, I don't 100%. I'm not familiar with his work, but obviously he's cool. He's in the NWO.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Now,
speaking of that era, not to completely go, this is not good podcasting, but I will tell you, I finally realized that I think that when I saw Dominic last night, and when he puts his arms up like that, he's doing Hoovy.
yeah, good call. He has so many. Dominic has so many different luchador.
He's doing it all.
Easter eggs. He does everything, and he combines it all.
I want the La Parka walk.
Well, yeah, because he does that. He has the top now with the bones on.
Yeah.
It's clearly La Parka.
Of course, it's La Parka.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's doing all the stuff.
Except Ray.
Well, of course,
Not Ray.
That guy's a deadbeat.
Yeah, he doesn't like him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody, now that you're an adult, and okay, twofold. You're an adult, but you're also very close to the industry now. You're not watching from afar really anymore, but you maintain your fandom.
Oh yeah. By the way, I still keep it tiny distance. I have to.
So that you can maintain the fandom.
I mean, anyone who knows me and is part of my wrestling life knows there's no spoilers in my life.
Yes.
None.
Yes.
If I hear I'm removing myself from group chats, I'm muting group chats. People can't control themselves. I love all my wrestling friends, but like brothers and sisters. But it's you have to be respectful.
And what's to you is define a spoiler.
Anything that says anything about anything. I don't want to know anything.
I don't want to know a thing.
Yeah. The only thing that's acceptable is like, wow, like that Osprey match was great.
Right.
That's it. If you go any further than that, it's a spoiler.
But it already happened and it was televised. But you didn't see it.
That I didn't see it.
Right. So it's a spoiler.
That's right.
So we can't be in a live group text while the show is happening.
I don't do that.
No.
Only if it's like a sanctioned group chat. We're going to talk about this during the event.
We've made the plan. We're going to have, this is the WrestleMania group chat. We can discuss WrestleMania as it's happening.
Or, Rosenberg or Andrew Goldstein or someone, like we'll say no spoilers tonight. Like I'm watching later.
I see.
Or something like that.
I see.
Because that's not, I live for wrestling. So what am I going to, I don't want it ruined in any way.
You take that away.
Yeah.
I was getting frustrated for other people when, we ran into each other at SmackDown at the Barclays. And that's when I had this vision. I said, we've talked about podcasting together and just talking about being wrestling fans. And I was like, wait, you're in town.
Yeah.
Come by the Notsam studio.
I'm so thrilled that you asked me to come. I'm obsessed with this place.
But I was getting frustrated because I see everywhere people are posting images. It was a 2 SmackDown taping.
Yeah.
And people are posting images from next week's ending. And it's like, why? Why?
If you're doing that, you're deranged. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You believe you belong in Arkham Asylum.
I think that's true because you do. The only reason to do it is to take joy away. It doesn't bring joy.
No.
It takes joy.
It takes joy. It's selfish.
It is selfish.
Yeah. I hate social media in general. I'm not
altogether.
Yes, I'm vehemently against it. I do it once in a blue moon.
Right.
I don't post that often.
Right.
When I do, it's humor. Like I'm not into social media.
You're not. Are you reading it or you're not reading it either?
No, I'm reading it. I'm looking at the reels or whatever, just for my own enjoyment.
Sure.
But like, I'm not
getting involved.
No. I do not get involved. I do not comment. I do not post things. I don't understand. Like I'm not a social media guy.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes wonder if I would be if it weren't so connected.
It's people's businesses.
Yeah.
If you're a celebrity and you make money from it, or you feel like you need to stay relevant,
branding,
like that's branding. Yeah. That's totally, of course, acceptable.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, it's like the only reason I would be doing it is just to be like, look at me.
Sure.
And I don't do that.
Sure.
That's not.
Let the work speak for itself.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Well
I like
said.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy as well. But I'm what's fascinating to me is that you have this dual life, right? Where for those that don't know, you're like this big Hollywood agent guy.
Oh yeah.
You're an industry guy, big Hollywood guy.
Yeah.
Right? I remember,
Guess you can call it that.
That's right. And I know that because my wife was working, still dabbles in what's known as the business.
Yeah.
And I remember her coming to me one day and saying, do you know who Brian Dipperstein is? And I go, I know Dip. And she goes, what do you mean Dip? And I go, what do you mean Brian Dipperstein?
Yeah.
And I go, he's like a wrestling guy. He's on Rosenberg's podcast. He's like a wrestling guy. And she's like, no, he's like a Hollywood agent guy. And I go, no, he's like a wrestling podcaster guy. And I'm like, see, he's on this T-shirt. And she's like, why is Brian Dipperstein on a t-shirt? I go, that's Dip that's on the t-shirt. You have this amazing dual life. Now, what I find fascinating about it, because I'm far more interested in the side that we talk about, the side that we relate on.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's interesting that I would imagine people don't realize the level of fan that you are. Because when you come from your world, you can get away with being half a fan. And the fact that you even have some product knowledge gets people excited enough to be like, oh, an outsider. But they don't realize you're not an outsider, not even a little bit.
No. I mean, I can sniff out the real people. Immediately. If, I could sniff out, people are like, oh, like, yo, Dip, like, you love wrestling too? I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah. I was like, do you? And they're like, yeah, dude, I love wrestling. I'm like, did you watch last week? And they were like, no, I like loved it when I was a kid. I'm like,
different conversation.
Okay. All right. You're in that category.
Right.
Then I'd see somebody in the industry and they'll say to me, oh, Dip, like, we got to talk. Like, I'm wrestling. Wrestling. I'm obsessed with wrestling. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Do you know who Big Bully Busick is?
Right.
Right. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah, like 91. Like, I used to open, like, whatever. I'll be like, oh, you're there. Yeah. Now we're having a conversation.
Here we are. Yeah. Yeah. There are cues for the same for me where it's like, I can teach you about wrestling, but we're not going to have a back and forth about wrestling. Like, this isn't the same thing.
The beautiful thing is now with this next new renaissance that's happening, and the Netflix deal and AW and all the new faces of wrestling, the new era of what we're in now, when it's seeping into every part of the culture. It's so validating to people like us, because it's like, you have the Vince doc, and what that is, what it is, but like, you have things that are like Dark Side of the Ring is the most popular thing on Vice, and I'm just like using random examples, and now you have wrestlers as Batista, and you have now Cena and all these people, and like it's so validating that wrestling. I mean, wrestling is a we find it very emotional, and we're obsessed with it, and it's a huge part of our life. But it is the only thing that is probably never going to go away.
Right.
Everything else will eventually go away. Wrestling is forever.
It's forever, and it just keeps going. It's one continuous story, like something you talk about validating. It's become my favorite thing to do. I love new fans who are just like, who will just say, they won't pretend to be like, oh, I'm obsessed too. When they go, yeah, I've been watching for 2 years. I love it now.
Yeah.
I go, that's great. You want to have a conversation? Like, one of my favorite things to do is to sit down with somebody who maybe did. Like, there are people who I've spoken to that are like, I just watched that Vince doc. And like, all the Vince stuff is over here, but they're going, I had no idea how amazing wrestling was. Right? Because there's so much of the history of WWE in that thing. And
that's right.
Sitting there and talking to somebody and going into all my geeky detail and all my little nuanced storytelling and being like, this is why this is so cool. And just going and going. And I realize I've just been talking for 40 minutes and I'm looking at this person in the eyes and they're completely engaged and they're fascinated by it. And I go, okay, but I'll tell you the rest later. And they go, no, tell me now.
Right.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. People that because I don't present as a nerdy wrestling fan, and I don't seem like one when you first meet me in any capacity, and then when people realize that that's my thing, they cock their head and they're like, what?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, like everyone's got their thing, and this is mine. Don't let the presentation fool you. I'm like Philly trash wrestling fan
forever
through and through, and it is who I am.
And I think the thing too, this is how I feel, and I would imagine you feel the same way, is that people don't understand when they cock their head. It's like, I'm looking at them like, you're the one who doesn't get it. Like, I have this thing, but I have figured out wrestling, and it's brought me joy for 40 years, like nothing else has. You're the one that's missing something in the fact that you don't get it.
Yeah, and people say, but the tide is changing with that.
That's right.
With this new era, where it's so mainstream again. And in the first, when in the 90s when it became the Attitude, and it was at that peak, there was no social media.
Right.
There was nothing. Now wrestling is spreading into every orifice of society again.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. And you could be critical of like it's becoming too big and it's too global, and their goal is to make it global. But at the end of the day, I know deep inside that this is good for us.
Yes.
The
100%.
international PLEs, the this and that, all these things, whatever. Like, yeah, like it takes the intimacy away a tiny bit, but ultimately we've spent our lives trying to prove to people in our lives in society that wrestling is amazing. And now with this new expansion, especially the Netflix thing and the international PLEs, it shows us, it shows the world that we were right.
Yes.
And so it's beautiful.
And it's everything that you wanted it to be, because what's going on right now? The good guys are the ones that get cheered. The bad guys are the ones that get booed. It's as close, as much as it's an advanced product and as much as it's a product that fits modern time. The storytelling to me is as close to 1989, 1990 now as it has ever been, in the sense that there hasn't been a universally beloved babyface since 1989, 1990.
Well,
Tell me, a pure, universally beloved babyface. I'm not talking about an anti-hero.
yeah, because Cena isn't that.
Cena isn't that. He split the crowd. Austin isn't that. He was an anti-hero. A pure, that guy is a babyface, takes no explanation. Cody Rhodes is a good guy. He's the goodest of the good guys. Men, women, children love him.
Yeah, and we talk about Cody Rhodes, who I absolutely love.
Me too. Although he thinks I don't like him, but I do.
How could you not?
Love him.
Yeah. So in a million years. Now we talked about a dark period of not watching. I was never completely out, but my darkest time in watching was when Cody had just started, basically.
Interesting.
So I've seen it all now.
Sure.
I've seen everything. From
You
that
go
era.
back and watch.
I've seen it all. And in a million years, despite his family, I would have never, ever guessed that he would become what he is today. And that just proves to you that you look at any of these guys, the Grayson Wallers and the Austin Theories and the Montez Fords, or the even like I'm trying to think of someone even lower on the card, you know, Carmelo Hayes, these guys that are absolutely amazing, okay? But you wouldn't necessarily see them in the main event of WrestleMania. You could see them in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Would you think Cody Rhodes was going to be in the main event of WrestleMania and having the title and this and with the hair and the thing and the whole thing?
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like he looks smaller than he does now. Same size guy. And he looks tiny in the ring back then and so diminutive and uninteresting. And now you see him, he feels larger than life.
He's got the star presence, and it's just the way he presents and the way he's received now. Like he looks like the biggest good guy star in the industry.
I think there is a moment right now where there are so many good people in WWE and AEW, but we're talking about WWE. There are so many excellent wrestlers on the roster. Dom, I'm a big Austin Theory guy. I know people.
He's great.
I'm a huge fan.
He's great.
I believe in him.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
People like that. It just shows you if Cody Rhodes can do it in 10 years, so can they.
I mean, and then you look at like a moment that we saw a couple weeks ago on Raw, and it's just this fleeting moment. But when they have this Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker stare down, and you go, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, this is it.
We have years. We have there's foundation that's already here, and you just see it for a minute, and you're like, that's a main event of a WrestleMania.
It is. I mean, the Jacob Fatu thing is, I mean, there's something going on.
There is something going on, and he's had like a handful of matches.
He is so evil and mean looking. He's so dope.
He is.
Yeah. And Braun Breaker is future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, Braun Breaker is. Everyone's over.
Everyone's over.
Everyone's over.
And I also feel like the toolboxes are so full on everybody, and maybe that's because modern wrestling has had so much time to really blossom, and people have had time to grow up with it and figure out what it really is. Because like you bring up Will Ospreay, and I think when people think that Will Ospreay is just a guy who has good matches, it's completely underselling him. Like
he's an otherworldly individual.
Yeah,
there's nothing like Will Ospreay. I mean, he is
every part.
What is he?
Yeah,
yeah.
Every element of sports entertainment, he's got it.
I haven't seen
100%.
Somebody have that type of. I mean, he has all the in-ring ability, but like the choreography is amazing.
Yeah,
and the what's the word?
Presence?
No, the ring knowledge of the
psychology.
The ring psychology.
Yes,
is like I don't think there's been anyone like him in years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the next level.
Right. And then he wins you over with his promo.
Oh,
he wins you over at a press conference. He's got this charm about him, but also has that thing that you brought up about Cody, where it's like the minute he walks out, you go, "Oh, that's a big star."
100%.
Yeah.
100% feel that way about Will Ospreay. There's a lot of great guys in AEW right now. I mean, oof.
Yeah. There's a lot of great guys everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, everyone. And it's like, it's always like my dream to be like the scout.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. There's got to be some great guys. People we don't even. I mean, I know you're deeper than me than in the TNAs and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And MLWs and stuff. I'm not that. I know who Motor City Machine Guns are.
Yeah.
But I don't know everything.
Sure.
But I know that there's a guy or a gal out there that is just waiting in the wings.
And it's also like, and people poo-pooed it at first, but clearly it's working as a strategy. It's not even on the indies. There's a volleyball player out there.
Yeah.
That's like, that's a start. There's a college football player that's like, that's the guy. There's somebody amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Because like you look at this NXT system now, and they're figuring out how to tap into that, not only athletic ability of these D1 athletes, but I think the mentality too, where it's like they're all bred to win.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, in professional wrestling, you're not trying to get victories in the ring. But if you want to win at this, these are the skills you can master. And then you can be a top guy or girl. And I think that's where you have your Braun Breakers and your Tiffany Strattons and your Trick Williamses and like all these amazing people that didn't come from wrestling that are now all of a sudden like they're coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
There's enough history to watch, man, where you can just, sort of take the greatness from so many different people and make it your own.
Yeah.
So anyway, you think we get Cena and Cody at Mania? Is that happening? I think so.
I don't think so.
It should. I don't care what the current plans are.
You want to do Cena
Cody. Yeah.
And you want it to be...
This is it, man. You want Mega Baby versus Mega Baby? Or do we get the Cena heel run finally? Like, I mean, we could do a whole hour on that.
Yeah. No, I don't look. I think Cena's back for a year.
Yeah.
Which is something to take advantage of, but also something to be disciplined about. I don't think a Cena heel run. I don't want 4 months of Cena as a heel.
But like you have Triple H now, who is booking this. I mean, he's booking wrestling incredibly well. I mean, thank God.
Yeah,
he exists on the earth.
Is it? Do you pray to God at night, thinking, "Thank you for Triple H, thank you for Jean-Paul Levesque"?
I do.
You do.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I love him. By the way, he's like, I wouldn't say he's on my Mount Rushmore, but he's up there for me. Even his like just as a pure wrestler, I'm upset. I was obsessed with him.
He's underrated. Like that's one of the I would love to interview Triple H, but go
just talk about wrestling.
Just your wrestling career.
He's an amazing wrestler.
Amazing.
Yeah, oh my God.
Amazing.
People, people who think otherwise are idiots.
Idiots. Because you talk about a guy, right, who like was surrounded by the biggest stars wrestling's ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's a mid-card guy.
Yeah.
And he has to fight and scratch and claw his way up. And he gets to the point where not only is he an equal, but he gets to that rare era where it's like, no, he's the guy.
Oh, he's the best.
And then he transfers over into every other era and just continues on. And he's a fan. He loves wrestling. Like we love wrestling.
He is a wrestling icon.
Yes.
Of the high. He is the ultimate winner.
But the way he books too, he is the ultimate winner.
He is.
But the way he books too, I feel like is giving stuff space and time, which is good.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's like a 4-month Cena heel turn feels rushed to me. If anything, I want Gunther and Cena at WrestleMania. Okay?
Come on.
What's this? Come on. What is this?
Look.
Because imagine this.
Okay.
The story is Cena doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Oh man, what if I don't get this match? Then he wins the Elimination Chamber. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to do it, and this is going to be my big moment. This is night 1 of WrestleMania, main event, and Gunther wins. And you're like, oh my God, Gunther just beat John Cena. Cena's going to get a title run, but not till later in the year. Gunther beating John Cena at WrestleMania? You will still have time to do Cena and Cody. We'll still have time to have...
When?
You got a whole year.
Oh. Okay. You could book the 2 biggest matches you can book at WrestleMania are The Rock versus Roman and Cody versus Cena.
But the Cody is so ingrained in the Rock story. Cody is completely like at Elimination Chamber in February. He goes, I want a match with The Rock, one-on-one. The night after WrestleMania, The Rock's like, here's this mystery gift. We're connected. I'm coming back for you. Rock said, I'm coming back for you, Cody.
I know. That's what's
And now
happening.
we're just going to like
I know.
not do it?
But it's what everyone expects. So,
But don't you think now part of this new way of telling stories is that we kind of pay off what everybody expects? Like most of the time, we're not in this era. There's still surprises, but you're not going to get the big swerve for the sake of a swerve.
I want swerves, though.
You love swerves.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. I live for the swerve.
You do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I live for the heel turn. I live for this one joins that faction. Yes, I live for that.
Yes.
That, to me, that's wrestling.
Yeah.
Last night, the Usos, like, coming together, whatever, like, that's wrestling.
Right.
It comes back around, and we knew it would, but, like, I guess I'm sort of contradicting myself a little bit when I'm saying this, but, like, the whole thing is a swerve. Like, the whole bloodline storyline
Right.
is one gigantic swerve, so
Right.
it applies. But, like, dude, a Cena heel turn, let me go back to that. A Cena heel turn would be Mage.
It would be Mage. You can't deny that. If there's 3 letters to describe a Cena heel turn, those 3 letters would be M, A, and J.
I mean, he comes out and just shocks the world as a heel and just does something despicable.
But
Come on, man.
When? And maybe I'm getting
That's
too lost.
wrestling.
Maybe I'm getting too lost in the calendar because he's coming in as a babyface. Clearly, everybody loves him, and he's got to go out as a babyface, right? Or no, you have him going out as a heel.
Why? Why does he have to go out as a babyface?
I mean, there's no way
It's never been done before.
He's not getting booed in his last match.
Why not?
Who'd boo
If
John
he
Cena?
really loved wrestling, he wouldn't care.
No, I'm saying I don't think fans will boo him in his last match. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think that we will buy it. I think we will have too much John Cena appreciation.
They'll love him at the Hall of Fame speech when he comes back and does the Hall of Fame
next year.
Okay, yeah. Can
Yeah.
we just let's do Cena heel versus babyface Cody? Come on, man.
So you're thinking Cena turns heel early on and does the
Immediately.
whole last year as a heel?
That would be, yes, that's what I want.
I mean, it's a swerve.
That would be that's wrestling.
But also, like, if you've got John Cena for a year and you're positioning the year behind, like, it's Cena's last time here, it's Cena's last time there, buy the T-shirt, everybody bring your families, everybody.
There's not enough time to
And he's a villain?
sell the NWO shirts. You're saying there's not enough time. Yeah,
Right.
I get that. I know, and it's really we want to maximize the merch and all that stuff.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like, I think it felt like the beginning of this year, the original idea was to just have The Rock come back as The Rock and just have this nostalgia thing. And then when it got twisted, he did develop this whole new character. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
But yeah.
the original plan was for the final boss to ever even take shape. And it's cooler that it did.
It's cooler than it did. I would love to have Cena come back and everyone boo him. That would be fun.
It would be fun.
That's fun.
It's fun.
Don't you want to have fun?
One thing I love is fun.
We love fun.
We love fun.
Yeah, and we love wrestling fun.
Yeah, and so
Cody's not turning heel. I mean, people will eventually turn against Cody. You know that's happening.
eventually,
Of course. In the next 2 years, there is going to come a day when some people get sick of Cody. Just the way they got sick of Roman, just the way they got sick of Cena, just the way they got sick of Hogan, just the way they got sick of anybody.
it has to no time soon. And I don't think
2 years.
they'll deliberately do it anytime soon.
No.
The reason people got sick of Cena and Roman, I think, is because it felt like
You were being shoved. It was being, not to put words in your mouth.
yes,
It was being
it's
shoved down our throat.
somebody else's creation, and they're pushing it upon us. Cody, his foundation is, like you just said, this wasn't supposed to happen. This isn't somebody else's creation.
Correct.
Now, if enough time
Dusty
passes,
Rhodes' creation.
sure, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And Mama Rhodes.
Mama Rhodes. Yeah.
Now, if enough time passes, the people forget, and with enough time, people do tend to forget things. If enough time passes that people forget where Cody came from, and they just know this Cody is the WWE main event Cody, that would be when it was possible. But it would have to be enough time has passed where people have forgotten that he left. People have forgotten about the list. People have forgotten about AEW. People have forgotten about 38. And then you can execute on it, I think.
Yeah. I would say the other thing that I'm looking forward to in the lead up to WrestleMania is the Bianca Jade feud. When are we? I mean, it's time.
And, okay, tell me this because I have clear-cut opinions.
Uh-huh.
Who's the villain and who's the hero?
Of course, the villain will be Jade. It should not be. Bianca Belair should be the villain.
I disagree. I agree that that's the way it will be, but I believe that Jade absolutely should be the villain.
But who wants should? I don't want should. I want good. You know?
I do know.
I don't want should. I want good.
I think we have the next T-shirt.
Yes.
I don't want should. I want good.
Yes.
But don't you think that there's like Jade comes across? There's just something about Jade, whether it's intentional or not, that comes across like right now at this point in her career, she will more naturally fit into that villain.
I don't want natural. I want unnatural. Bianca Belair has been the same character for way too long. Mm-hmm. It is time. She can keep the hair, which I love the hair.
Well, the original NXT run, she had the hair and everything. She was a villain. You can do it.
Yeah, but no one remembers that.
No.
So it's like, and I don't know how many times I can perpetuate the same point, but like it's time. The Street Profits are done.
Done.
Okay, it's over.
Wow,
it's done.
Wow,
the red cups have fallen. We've drank whatever liquid is in the red cups. Mm-hmm. It's time to recycle the red cups.
Bone dry.
They're bone dry.
Wow.
Okay, they're on sale at the dollar store.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's we're filling up the red Solo cups.
Literally, that's what's happening. It is time for Montez and Bianca to be a heel couple. And it is time for them to feud with Jade Cargill. Okay?
Okay. Now, does Jade get a second as like a babyface?
No.
Jade?
Oh, get a second what?
Like a gentleman in her?
No.
So Jade's just going to end up beating both of them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to do wonders for Montez.
Nothing has yet. Come on, man. I love Montez Ford.
Right. But you want him to get beat by Jade Cargill.
He needs to be a heel, and he's a great talker. My opinion. People have different opinions. I think he's a great. I'm into Montez Ford. I've been saying for years. I don't understand why they don't pull the trigger. There must be something. I have no idea. I'm a huge Montez Ford fan.
Yeah,
totally believe in him. He needs to move on.
Well, can we get Dawkins over with Jade?
Okay.
Doesn't do it for you though.
No, I like Dawkins too.
I like Dawkins, but
there's something there, but I don't know if it fits. Whatever. Regardless, I would like to see. Forgetting Montez. I would like to see Bianca be the one to turn heel and Jade Cargill as the babyface. Mm-hmm. And you have like an awesome Mania feud. It's time for Bianca. It's time for enough is enough. It's time for a change for Bianca.
I've heard that before. Yeah, no, and it is time, I think, for them to go their separate ways and to develop this thing that has been cooking for the better part of this year.
But swerve the people a little bit. Make Jade the baby. She's dope.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
Okay. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and
I know.
because you can swerve people all you want, but the idea is that the people have to go along with you. And if people are like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this,"
do it right. Then people will go along.
That's true. Of course, that's true. That's your job, right?
Yeah,
is to do it right.
Yeah. I'm really excited for War Games. This is going to be a great War Games.
Bloodline versus Bloodline. We're presuming.
Of course.
Yes.
If they're not going there, that's bizarre.
Yes,
you get Sammy in there on the baby team.
I would agree.
And blah 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 blah.
4-on-4.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see. I bet The Rock shows up in some capacity at SummerSlam or at Survivor Series.
Not to compete.
No, but I think he'll show up. Separately, again, we as fans, as we've talked about now for I'm sure an hour, the idea of nostalgia at Survivor Series is unfortunately gone. So the idea of having the Wyatt Six versus the Karrion Kross team as a Survivor Series match, that would be really fun too.
It'd be really fun.
Can't we do that?
And it would work. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction that it ends up going in, especially because the Karrion Kross team has sucked The Miz into it. I don't know if you saw the promo that they did after Raw.
I did.
So good that The Miz is now like, I mean, it's like a prison gang. He's hostage.
Right.
To the point where it's like, well, yeah, you can leave us, but we're going to kick your ass. So either we'll help you with the Wyatts or they'll destroy you and then we'll destroy you.
Right.
Right. So take your pick, Miz.
Right.
You did this.
Right.
No, I love that. I love that.
Can't we get that?
I think so. I think that's more realistic.
Call someone and see.
I'll see if I can get anything done. How do you feel about I feel like Tiffany and Charlotte is the way to go for WrestleMania.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlotte winning the Rumble.
Charlotte winning the Rumble or someone else winning the Rumble. I don't know.
Who do you have winning the Rumble?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know.
Not ready to pull the trigger on
I'm
Charlotte.
not ready to pull the trigger on any Rumble winner of any kind except for John Cena.
You want John Cena to win the Royal Rumble?
I think John Cena wins the Royal Rumble.
What about Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble?
Ugh.
What's a ugh?
No.
What's a ugh?
No.
What's a no?
I don't want that. No.
You don't think it's a compelling case that if the match is made, we kind of already know we're going Rock versus Cody. Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. He's going to insert himself into that match. So now,
I know.
whereas last year, Cody took away the Rock's match. Now Roman is taking this match away by turning it into a triple threat.
It'll be triple. I mean, that's what's happening in Mania, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
The triple threat is happening.
I want the triple threat.
That's what you're going to get.
Well, I'm going to love WrestleMania then. Vegas is going to be great.
So who's Cena going to wrestle? Gunther.
That's what I want.
All right, I'll wrestle Gunther.
That's what I want.
All right, I'll see you there.
I mean, I know you like swerves, but you know what I like? Logical, progressive storytelling.
I know.
And maybe that's a little boring.
It is.
Maybe that's a little boring. But
It
you
is
know what?
boring.
But you know what? You know what happens when you do logical, progressive storytelling? The hits hit so hard. The Usos coming back together was long-term, logical, progressive storytelling.
Yeah.
On SmackDown, Jey Uso is covered head to toe. They're still chanting yeet. Yeet. We all knew exactly who it was. But when he revealed himself, we still all freaked out.
Yeah.
Even though we all knew it was him, because it's logical, progressive storytelling.
I thought it was going to be the new guy. What's his name? The potential new guy.
Oh, the tall guy.
No, the even newer guy.
Right.
The guy that's not even here yet, the Samoan guy.
Right.
What's his name?
Zilla?
Zilla.
Zilla
I thought it
Fatu?
was Zilla.
Yeah. No,
I said, I think it's Zilla.
well, you love a swerve.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if it had been Zilla, that would have been a hell of a swerve.
I wanted it to be Zilla.
Now, might have been less people who knew even who that was. I mean, Jey Uso is very famous.
Very famous.
Zilla's like, I mean, he's making a name for himself, but he hasn't been on WWE TV.
They're saying we're going to get a Zilla soon.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah. I'm hearing Zilla.
But you also don't like spoilers.
I do not.
So,
Well, there can be like all the anticipation for a Zilla Fatu, but if somebody's like, oh, Zilla Fatu debuted on Raw, I'd be like, oh, you're dead to me.
right. That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Well, Dip,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go.
This was great.
Did you love this?
I love
Is
you.
this what you wanted this to be?
I love you. I respect you.
Thank you.
I think you're good at this job.
Thank you.
I'm jealous that this is your job.
Pretty great.
I am so happy that you had me on this show.
I'm so happy.
I think you're a great podcaster.
Thank you.
I think you're a great guy.
Thank you. A great guy or a...
You're a great guy.
How good did it feel, by the way?
Yeah.
It was at this point a couple years ago.
Yeah.
When MJF shows back up on AEW TV and he's using all your lingo.
I know. It's so weird. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. God, my stuff is really perpetuated out there.
It is. It really, really has. It's what's contagious is what it is. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing. Is there any... Do you want people to follow you on social media?
It's at the Dipperstein. I don't. That's my Instagram, but I don't tweet. There's no tweeting
Right.
going on. I'm still trying to perfect my MySpace profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're on Cheap Heat with Peter Rosenberg.
Yeah,
of
Cheap
course.
Heat with Peter Rosenberg. Please subscribe. I think the show's better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And more exciting stuff to come on Cheap Heat.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if anybody can get it done, it's
Join
you.
that Patreon. By the way, the Patreon's fun.
It is,
Doing
right?
it. Yeah, it's great.
You get to create a community.
It's a community.
Yeah.
We're talking about bagels and locks and, it's fantastic.
I also just love that, like, day to day, you're doing these big 7, 8, 9-figure deals, all your big Hollywood deals, and then you come here on the weekends and you're like, you can subscribe to me and my friend's Patreon.
Yeah, we could talk about air turbulence and stale biscotti on American Airlines and
Yeah.
we could talk about these
It's
things.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it very much.
Stay mage.
I will try.
Okay.
I always do.